This video is sponsored by Full Reptile Collective, brought to you by Dan Hardy. Head over to their website at fullreptile.co.uk where you can find anything from training gear, t-shirts, hoodies, all the way to coffee. For an exclusive 10% off, use Dan Said So at checkout. Make sure to also check out their YouTube channel for some of the best MMA content out there, bar my own. Let's get back to the video. UFC London, guys, our co-main event. Now that Darren Till has unfortunately pulled out through injury, he's being replaced by Chris Curtis, Action Man himself, and Jack Hermansson. So Hermansson obviously meant to fight Darren Till, which was going to be a very competitive fight on my end. In steps, I wouldn't say late replacement either. He's got plenty of time, Chris Curtis. He's just fought a good 3 rounds where he won convincingly against Rodolfo Viera last week, was it? 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
I thought he looked excellent against Viera, against a specialist that wants to grapple heavy, negated all of it, dealt his damage on the feet. Hermansson, very good wrestling, very good grappler himself. You saw he had that wrestling match with Khamzat Chimaev where he's a big middleweight. These guys, when they don't cut weight, showed he has got very good striking against someone that's ready to sit in the pocket like Sean Strickland. But for me, Jack Hermansson is always like an evolved version of Chris Curtis. They're very similar. They're very good mixed martial artists. They do everything really well, but nothing particularly great. Where do you see, because I know you're a massive fan of Chris Curtis, where do you see him lining up against Jack in this one?
I think I don't quite see him as the same mirror as you for sure. I do think Chris Curtis is the much more well-rounded guy in this scenario, but what he's really good at doing, and I think why I do like this matchup for Chris Curtis, which I don't think is surprising anybody by giving that away. But yes, I'm a big fan of him. But I like what he's been able to do with 2 straight grapplers now, very strong grapplers, guys who really need to get it to their grappling range, and Brendan Allen and then Rodolfo Viera. He convinces them to strike with him. He turns them into strikers, and he just all out avoids the grappling. And that's what he needs to do again here. Jack Hermansson, I feel, is still – I don't think he's really evolved that much, really. I mean, his stand-up's gotten a little bit better, but he's still – you know what he wants to go in there and do. He wants to wrestle you, get you to the ground, get into that full mount and rain down the ground and pound, and maybe, use the submissions. And we saw with Chris Curtis his reaction when the fight hit the floor against Viera last week or 2 weeks ago. It was lava. He was scrambling. He was immediately back up, and he had a very specific game plan in that fight. And it was the body shots early on, and then it was working his way up top. One thing that people need to remember is Chris Curtis is a finisher. Going to decisions, that's not what Chris Curtis does here. Chris Curtis is going to go in there and I think look to lay on the pressure similarly to how Jared Cannonier did. Stuff the takedowns early, work into power, work in some dirty boxing, elbows, knees, variety of strikes, break them down, get a finish, 2nd or 3rd round. That's really how I see this fight going. My concern is the slight short notice, for one, with Chris Curtis. This is still short notice for him, especially at 35 years old.
Yeah.
Especially at 35 years old, having to pull out of a fight previous to this for Chris Curtis. So there are some questions on his health, but the dude's a dog. He just takes fights, keeps taking them for better or for worse. That could be a scenario here. He's traveling over to England on short notice as well. Jack Hermansson's over in Europe. Jack Hermansson's been preparing for a co-main event. I won't say if this is harder or less than Darren Till. I'll leave Darren Till alone for this video. Yeah, Chris Curtis on a full camp. I'm fully behind him and fully expecting him to, finish Jack Hermansson, honestly. This I'm not as sure about, and I'm quite surprised. I obviously do a betting channel from a betting perspective. I'm very surprised that Chris Curtis is the favorite here. And that does make me nervous.
I'm very surprised at that as well, because, as you say, Jack hasn't necessarily evolved crazy much, but he's always come in better shape. He has improved his striking a lot more, but the game plan against Darren Till, if he was to strike with Darren Till, I think it would end one way. I think Darren would win the fight comfortably. The way you beat someone like Till is you're going to out-grapple him, as shown in all his losses, really. That's got to be the same game plan here for Chris Curtis. He's going to be trying to wrestle Chris Curtis. I think Chris Curtis has a lot better takedown defense, but the one thing where he compared him to Cannonier, I think Cannonier has that bullying aspect to his game where he's such a bigger individual. Chris Curtis is coming up in weight, wasn't he? So he's a lot smaller than a lot of these middleweights. Jack Hermansson's not a
But
small
when
guy.
Chris Curtis has you hurt, he finishes you.
That is
That's
true.
what
When he
I'm
smells
motivated.
blood, he gets you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
you
we're
personally
just like
think
Jared
Chris?
Cannonier smelled blood with those uppercuts. I mean,
Yeah.
it took Cannonier, 6 or 7 of those, but once he had him hurt with that, he just
He
kept
wasn't
going.
letting him off.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Curtis has that similar type of mentality to when he hurts a guy. And
So
more
if
so
you can't see Hermansson getting Chris down to the ground like he did Shabazian, for example.
Based on how he's looked against Brendan Allen and Viera, no. Like both those guys, Viera got him down. Viera also was out striking him in the first round, and that was by design. I mean, Chris Curtis is that confident in his game plan and his ability to finish a fight. Cut it a little closer by going to a decision but he allowed Viera to get into that scenario where he was like, 1 for 5 on his takedowns in the first round or something. And he got outstruck a little, but by the second, third round, Viera had nothing left. Obviously, Hermansson has a much better gas tank.
Much better.
I don't think Curtis is just coming in here and taking the Viera game plan and using that. But that's also my concern. I did think physically there was something that looked a little off with Chris Curtis before that fight. Yeah. I'll just admit that he didn't quite look as sharp physically to me. And it did seem to take him a little bit of time there, which a guy like Hermansson, I think, could really take advantage of more than a guy like Viera. So those are and these are why I'd feel way better with a plus money Chris Curtis than him as a favorite. I'm quite surprised. He's very popular. He's very likable. And that's, I think, why he's a favorite in this spot. In my opinion, Hermansson should be the favorite.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I do have Chris Curtis to win by TKO late.
I'm happy to hear it because I love disagreeing.
Me too.
I think the difference in levels in wrestling, for example, Hermansson's wrestling is far higher than Rodolfo Viera is not a wrestler. He's a jiu-jitsu practitioner. No. Jack Hermansson is a legitimate, very high level wrestler. I think Chris Curtis can't take time off and let him win a round, especially with 3 rounds and especially the pace Hermansson's going to explode with to just knuckle down with him. So for those sort of things, I think Hermansson is going to get him down, hold him down, and kind of. I don't think he's going to hurt Chris. I think Chris's defense is brilliant. I think he's really good at negating damage.
I think Chris got submitted very early in his career one time and has not been submitted in like 30 fights.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't even know he had been submitted. I know he'd been KO'd.
I think he got submitted a long time ago, but I might be wrong on that too.
When he didn't know what a submission was that long ago. Yeah,
exactly. But I'm a huge fan of Chris Curtis. This on full camp, I'm much more confident in my pick. I'll be completely candid.
Excellent. So I'm riding Jack Hermansson. I think he'll win a decision, and you're riding Chris Curtis, and you think he'll finish Jack Hermansson. Late TKO. That will send the O2 mental.
I mean, talk about huge opportunity. I mean, Chris Curtis might be in a main event. How fun would a Chris Curtis main event be against Dricus du Plessis in South Africa? Go ahead, just put it there. I don't care.
You get a fight night out there.
Yeah, main event Dricus versus Chris Curtis, end of 2022. Let's go.
If he beats Hermansson, he ain't taking a back step.
That's true.
He's getting Vittori next.
Yeah, good point.
Or Till himself. That would be
someone in tight green shorts.
There you go. Perfect.